Ready? All right. Good evening, everybody. Call to order. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is the Blasting Advisory Board for Miami Lakes. The time is 7:05. We're calling the meeting to order. You can hear us better now. This is our standard monthly meeting, so it's going to be commingled a bit with our standard agenda. However, we do have a guest presenter this evening, which is obviously why we're all here. So I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the roll call. My name is Miguel Martinez. I am the chair of the Blasting Advisory Committee. Turn your mic on.
Rudy Blanco, Vice Chair. Blasting Advisory.
Stephen Herzberg, Secretary.
John Estrella.
Okay, we have quorum.
All right, so we meet quorum. We'll start with item number 3 now for public comments. If anybody wishes to say anything, we'll give you the opportunity. You have 3 minutes to if you wish to speak. You want to speak, sir? Yep. Come on to the mic.
Make sure it's on, huh?
Yeah.
My name is Lloyd Burt. I've lived in Palm Springs North for 46 years. Before that, I lived in Miami Lakes and also just south of the Country Club of Miami. And we've been about the blasting. I know it's been going on back in the early 80s. I even had a seismograph bolted to my garage, cement garage floor. And White Rock would come out once a month and read the tape. It was a paper tape. But anyway, it's been going on and it's gotten a lot worse now than before. The whole house shakes. We're getting cracks in the ceilings and the sides of the house. Every time I feel a blast, I report it. I note the time, how many blasts, whether it's a double blast. I even I'll look up on my clock if I'm home, see the sweep secondhand, time it. And since December 9th of 2021, I have gotten from Jessica Hall, Monica Wood, and Chris Colson, I have received 306 responses to my reports. So I'd just like to say, if everybody would report it, then we might have something for Tom to fight in Tallahassee. And the other thing, Chris Colson said, he'll send me a report and says that it's within limits, and he shows me the graphs. And I finally wrote him back and I said, well, guess what? we need to change the limits. Okay. So, thank you.
No,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
The limit is the actual, the problem. I agree with you, and I thank you for sending your complaints. The last trip we went to Tallahassee in February, we learned that the Miami-Dade pilot program, which is the complaint that was filed, that he's referring to, that in the budget for that program, they did not budget for marketing. So, and the reality is, all the complaints that they've received, and at that time was over 2,000 or 3,000 complaints, has been basically us networking and advising of the existence of this website. So that shows the power of all of us have. Again, the state is not marketing that website. So we all need to come together and come to terms, lock arms, and file these complaints. It's statistical data proving that we have a problem. There is a problem here. All right, anybody else? All right, so we'll close public comments now. The adoption of minutes, previous minutes, any comments on it?
Clarification from item G, my no vote was for the vice chair, not for the chair. For clarification, please.
Which item number you're on?
Item C, I already spoke to the secretary for clarification.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'll revise that vote. It's just noting that you were unanimous in decision. It was only the vice chair that wasn't. I'll just revise that, send it to the town, and we'll have the revised minutes.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve it.
Make a motion to approve the minutes
I second.
with revisions.
You second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adopted.
So the minutes adopted. Getting item number 5 on the agenda is the response letter to the Miami-Dade Limestone Association. Just so we're all aware, in December, we sent invites to the Limestone Association and their members, each mining company. We were able to obtain their local address and their corporate office address. We sent it via email and snail mail. They received the invites. The intent was for December's meeting to have a public forum where the community can come, air their grievances and speak what they're feeling and whatnot. And that information would be used at a roundtable discussion with the miners. The intent is again, and so everybody's aware, we're not to shut the mining industry down. It is a necessary evil. We have to have it. If you enjoy your home, you enjoy construction, you enjoy driving on a road, it's all built on the aggregate that's pulled out of those holes. However, we cannot be considered collateral damage to their profits. And that's where the bottom line comes down to. So we need to find an amicable solution where we all can coexist happily. Again, the reality, there are 5 mining companies in the industry in this area. 3 of them are blasting below trigger limits. In other words, they're not felt at all by the machines, never mind us. So if 3 of them can operate in those parameters, why can't all of them? So that is the scope of our and the crux of our discussions and hopes with them. On the day before our meeting, a letter was sent, an email was sent to the town saying that they would not be attending. The letter was predated by 2 weeks. Why they did that, I have no idea. But they didn't show up. We had, and in their website, it says they will work with the community. We counted on it. They didn't. That's the truth. But in the letter, it invites us to meet with them on their grounds. So they set up the meeting. So we issued a letter to them accepting their invitation. We have yet to have a response. So just so it be known, and many legislators in Tallahassee last year when we went, many asked us, have you tried to sit down with them, talk it out, sit at the table and talk? I said, they haven't wanted to talk with us, but let's give it a true full hard try. And we did. And here we are. So that is the, dealing with the response. Any discussion?
I think for the sake of time, starting the discussion, the presentation, I'll motion to table it for next meeting with the notice that we must respond or have additional action if they continue to ignore a response, because at that point, it would just be insulting.
All right.
I think we could also send a follow-up letter.
You want to talk on the mic?
Send a follow-up letter to the initial letter that we sent, just again, asking for that olive branch to sit down and have obviously a constructive conversation around the matter.
All right, so so the motion's on the table and to table this and decide on the next month's meeting. We have a second?
Have a second. Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye. All right, so we'll table that for next month and we'll address it then.
To the chair, I'd like to move forward with presentation, please.
Say again?
To the chair, I'd like to move forward and bring the presentation item up at front.
6B?
Yes, please.
All right. So I guess since you guys aren't here to see me, obviously. I didn't put my makeup on today. When we were returning from our flight back from Tallahassee, the mayor sent me an email, a text message to send him my email that he wanted me to include me on an email that was sent to him. I did, and he forwarded me this email from a professor from UM. We were at the airport and the flight was delayed. I didn't have time to reply at that moment. And the following day I was in a hearing and I couldn't reply timely. But I called on the way back, stuck in traffic on I-95, and that invoked into a conversation of an hour and a half with this gentleman. I was blown away by what he was telling me. Quite frankly, I was finding it hard to believe. And that went into a discussion. He then came to my office with another professor from FAU. And we spent the day together. We experienced several blasts that day and had a lot of discussions regarding it. His name is Falk Amelung. Falk. He is a professor at UM from the Department of Marine Geology and Geophysics. He's from Germany. And frankly, I asked him to send me his CV. It's 14 pages. So it really wouldn't do justice, anything I could say for him, but thank you. Thank you for coming.
Danke schön. Danke schön.
Falk he studies earth movement, surface earth movement, visible from satellite imagery. And recently, him and his team were able to predict and forecast through earth movement and seismic activity of a volcano eruption in Hawaii. They were able to predict the location of the eruption, and including trace the path that the lava flow would go. This obviously saving countless lives if it were to go into a habited area. Fortunately, it did not. But he sent me the article, and again, blown away. He's then sent me some sample buildings, and coincidentally, one was my own office and the movement that it's having. Now, he's going to be explaining stuff, and we need to understand that when we're talking about movement, we're not talking about picking up a building and moving it across the yard. It's not that. This is minuscule amounts of movement, but when we calculate over time, those minuscule movement, it continues to move. So the cumulative effect of that, what does it mean? I could tell you our office building has moved 7/8 of an inch, and I have it photographed, documented. Our office building has had strange water pipe breaking. Now it's no longer strange because now it makes sense. We have paver patio that buckled, very strange. We had to reset all the pavers. Now it makes sense. So again, I invited the professor to come to explain what the study that he's proposing. It is a proposed study. He's seeking to finance the study. He will have some graduate students with him, but it's an all-encompassing study, including structural engineers from FAU, psychologists, I believe, right, from FIU, and yes, and from UM, and a geologist from UCF. So there's the university level is involved now. So Falk, I hand it over, Mike, to you. Welcome.
Thank you.
You want to grab the mic so I can hear?
Right there, yeah.
Now it's green. I think it works. Okay. Yeah. So it's a pleasure to be here. As Miguel said, I'm since quite a while at the University of Miami, normally studying earthquakes, volcanoes, and land subsidence all over the world. And okay, now since recently got involved into studying something right here, and it turns out scientifically extremely interesting. And normally well, as a scientist, we give a presentation once we're done with the study. And this time it's different. We just have started. So I'm just going to present what we have done up to now and what we hope to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of this satellite technique, what we are using, some example applications, and then I'm going to talk about the coastal area in Miami-Dade. That's where we started. And then, of course, of the area here in Miami Lakes and Miramar. You have to see how to move this forward. Yes, okay. And yeah, so my interest, or the interest of our group of doing this here, is of course related to the collapse in Surfside 1.5 years ago. And so since we're using the satellite techniques, the question what we thought is, okay, can't we monitor these buildings with satellites? And this is a typical satellite image. This type of satellite image, what we use is it's an active, it's a radar image, a radar and the phase. So there's an electromagnetic wave sent down from the satellite, and then it's going to be received again, and then you get this type of images. And yeah, so just to give you some other examples where we are working. This, for example, is in the Galapagos Islands, the volcano, Sierra Negra volcano. I was there actually last week for teaching, and at this volcano, so you see on the right side, you see this line. That is a combination of about 160 or 200 satellite images, and that's the same what I'm going to show you later on for Miami Lakes as well. So we're having this, 200 satellite images, and then we can see, by combining them, we can see subtle differences. And in this case, this volcano has gone up, the ground has gone up by about 4 meters since the last eruption in 2018. Another example where the satellite technique is used for is tectonics. Yeah, for example, this example shows the Turkey earthquake couple of weeks ago, the tragic earthquake, and you can very precisely see where exactly, by how much and where exactly the ground moved. So we can see the two faults which created the earthquake. And so this technique has been used for volcanoes and tectonics, and also for land subsidence. We did after Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans in 2005. We did a study about natural land subsidence in New Orleans, Louisiana, and so it turns out that the city is going down by between 0.6 and 2 meters over 100 years, and that is because it's a new, it's all built on relatively new geologic material, new sediments. So that is something, it's natural, not much can be done. Another example of land subsidence of study, what we did all over the world, is in Jakarta. In Jakarta, they are pumping water at pretty high rates, and you're getting, at some places, very large amounts of subsidence of about 20 centimeters per year, almost a foot per year, not quite. And yeah, so then they have flooding issues with that, and they recently decided that they're going to move the they're going to move the city. But there, the land subsidence, it's a result of groundwater extraction for industrial use. They know about the problem, but they haven't really, the politics didn't work such to change things. So now I'm going to focus first on the coastal area. That's where we started. So this is so these images, they are 250 by 250 kilometers big, and but we are able to get very precise measurements since it's an active imaging technique. So your regular weather satellite, it's just like your iPhone, it just takes a photo, but this one, as I said, it sends the image, it sends a signal down and then comes back up. And yeah, so this is for the town of Surfside and further north, Bal Harbor. The collapse happened at the lower right. I'm not going to talk about that, but something what we saw, so that's again the result of 150 images or something like that. Something what we saw is that there is about, that there's a blue spot in the area of the Surf Club Hotel. Quite significant blue spot. And that is the ground going down at a rate of about half a centimeters per year. So the question is now, and there's others, but I'm not going to talk about that too much in detail, or I'm not going to talk about it now. The signal here is at the beginning, the first couple of years, 2017, 2018. So there's two time series for two spots on top of these buildings, probably in AC or something like that, from where the satellite, the signal is reflected. So it's reflected from there, and then it goes back to the satellite, and so we can monitor the stability of these, of whatever is, it's called the persistent scatterer, whatever remains persistent. And so there is a signal in particular in 2017-18. So what is happening there in some cases, and that's something what we are studying in more in detail. So you're building these new high rises, these new buildings. There is vibrations, and then from the construction, and then you're going to get a little bit of subsidence, and if there's differential subsidence, then you can get cracks. Differential subsidence means if there's one area going down faster than another. And so we are wondering what could be the reason. In Miami, and the underground is something we expect, something like on the right image, just the limestone. But it turns out, if you look in detail, there's quite a lot of sand within the limestone, and sand can, if there's vibrations from construction, then sand starts moving, and this is what we think is a reason for the subsidence there in the Surf Club Hotel area. We don't see it everywhere, so that's probably an area where there is quite a lot of sand, as well as there were strong vibrations from constructions. And just to give you another example, a couple of weeks ago, the Broward Courthouse, the new one, was closed, and because there were structural concerns, it turns out we have a blue dot deformation right there, and so we see some subsidence, not very much, couple of millimeter, maybe a total of 1 centimeter or so. Okay, so now let me come to the local area right here to the Miami Lakes area. So when we did this first, we saw something like, okay, so it's a little bit hard, this somewhere, I don't know, I think Miami Lakes or Miramar. I hope you can see the dots. So there is some green dots and some blue dots. The blue dots mean those which are subsiding. And this is an example from one of those dots. And there is a signal in 2019, June 2019. So before that, it's flat, as you see. If you look at the data on the right side, it is flat. Then something is happening, and then it continues to be flat at a lower level. And this type of, so what is it? There is somehow a persistent scatterer, something which is persistent either on the roof, or it could be a boardwalk or something like that. And this stays consistent. And in June 2019, for some reason, this whatever is persistent moved by 0.5 by almost 1 centimeter. And so we do this at different locations. This is, I just did this, looked at the data earlier before I came here. Somewhere here in Miami Lakes, it's towards the west. Towards the east, I don't see much of those signals. And so I have suspicion what could be the reason, but we have to look at that in more detail. So if you look at this pixel over there, okay, again, there is something happening. This pixel, for whatever this is, it looks to be somewhere on the top of a roof. It went down by ½ inch in August 2018. And so you can go all over. Here's another example, another blue dot. That means a pixel going down. All the other persistent scatterers are green. They are not moving. But if you look further south, there's quite a lot of blue dots. And let's just look at this one. This is not going down instantaneously. This is going down slowly. So there is why exactly we don't know, but it behaves a little bit different. And if we zoom in, so that gives you an idea how precise our technique is. So it looks like that this blue dot, this pixel, is in the water. But so what it probably is, we are not 100% precise. We cannot locate things, or not yet, to a meter or something like that. We can locate things to 5 to 10 meters. And what this probably is it's I believe that this looks to me like a fence next to the water, and probably a pole for the fence or something like that. Fences, if it's metal fence, it reflects very nicely. So something which is persistent, so it is a little bit offset, and it just goes slowly down. So, and then we started to look at schools. This is the Everglades High School. I believe that is in Miramar, and schools are bigger buildings than most of the residential homes. So it turns out at schools we see a more significant signal. So here the Everglades High School in June 2000. In June 2000, this part of the roof went down by 1 inch. What is, not necessarily the entire roof. So you can see next to it there's green pixels. So it didn't move, but there's 3 blue dots close to each other. And so then we looked at other schools. Silver Lakes Elementary. There is, so if you look at this figure to the right of the school, the dots are green. That means they didn't move, but on top of the roof, they're moving. And there was, 3/4 of an inch displacement in August 2019. Another example, Charles White Elementary. We don't have many pixels for some reasons, and but there is a blue dot, and there was about 0.5 inch displacements in March 2021. Okay, so and if you continue looking at schools, I'm not sure whether this. I wanted to elementary, small typo. Yeah, this school, there happened something in 2021. Okay, so let me see whether I can do my online demonstration, whether that works. So we have run data for the entire area, and okay, where do I get to my? How do I get out of this? Okay, I will do the online demonstration at the end in the case something goes wrong. Yeah. So what are the next steps? Yeah. So we hope to. So we haven't done very much work. So we hope to do really a research project and get a couple of PhD students working on it in different disciplines. One would be with me, and then in machine learning to properly identify the locations where there is, and then there will be also a colleague at University of South Florida. He is a seismologist, Stephen McNutt, and he already has a seismograph or a couple of seismographs here in the area. So then we can precisely measure the shaking, and then there will be Khaled Sopan, the professor of FIU, which Miguel mentioned earlier, and then Imelda Moyes, who's in public health at the University of Miami. So for that, of course, we need funding, and we hope to write a research project. But in the case there is we're hoping to get funding from the state, but that's a little bit questionable how that works. But then what we need to do is we need to acquire the high resolution imagery. So what I showed you, most of it was public. Some was high resolution imagery. Some is public domain, for which you have to pay. Some is public domain. So we don't have the latest high resolution imagery because we don't have any funded project yet. Then what we need to do is really estimate what the spatial distribution is. And of course, an obvious question is whether these kind of signals, do they only occur here in the near the mines, or do they also occur somewhere else? To what I've seen, I looked at a few schools. I haven't seen anywhere else at larger distance these kind of signals, but that should be done really in a proper scientific way. And then we hope to do the seismic measurements and in situ and laboratory geotechnical testing, and that laboratory or in the geotechnical analysis, that is my colleague Khaled Sopan at Florida Atlantic University. He has been working on these kind of things for quite a long time. So these are some slides what I got from him. So what is happening is, well, if there's vibration, a vibration source, the direct effect, it's small from the on a building, but what matters is what happens under the ground, and that is a process which is called dynamic settlement. So the seismic wave goes through the ground, and then it can start some processes that the soil can move. And an example. This is here an example for sand. There is some sand. There's a void, as you can see in that image, and from the shaking, this void may close from the shaking back and forth, and as a result, we get a little bit of subsidence. At least that's what we think is happening. But these are so these are all sort of hypotheses which we hope to test. And then in Florida Atlantic University, they have in the geotechnical engineering laboratory, they have a shake table. So what we hope to do is we hope to take really the samples from the mud, as well as from the granular material. That means the sand, which are under the foundations, and we put it on a shake table, and maybe put some foundation on top of it, and then we have from the seismic measurements, we have exactly the ground. We know exactly by how much it was shaking, and then we let the shake table do its thing. We shake it in exactly the same way, and then we can see what the response is. Do you get displacements, or you don't get displacements? And something which is poorly understood is we have, well, under the houses here, of course, there is the granular material or the sand, which has been heavily consolidated, but next to it there's still quite a lot of muck. And how muck, which is water rich, responds to shaking is relatively poorly understood. Actually, I'm not aware of any study what has done that. And that's it. Now let me try my online demonstration. Stop share for a second. Maybe I can come out. Was disabled participant screen sharing? Okay, somehow I disabled screen sharing. Yes, I still want something to show here. Yes. Okay, let me see. Okay, so this one seems to work now. So this is the data for the area. So let me have a look. Let me go to the Miami Lakes area where we are. So it is our online tool. I can provide, or Miguel can send around the URL. So let's look at this area. At the moment, everything is yellow, but this is related to a reference point. I'm just going to select. So all our measurements are relative. So let's see whether this works. Okay. Okay, now this is all the displacements relative to a particular area. So let's have a look where we have some blue dots. We are somewhere here. There's actually something we should look in a minute, but earlier before it came. Okay, let me have a look at this one. Okay, so I don't know where that exactly, well, I can see on the map where that is, but there was something which happened at the beginning of 2020 or something like that. Only these two pixels. But these are the low resolution data. So there's quite a lot of areas where we don't have pixels. I can look at what is happening right here. Yeah, so this here somehow it just goes slowly down at the rate of 1 centimeter, half an inch over 4 or 5 years. So very, very small. But okay, somehow on this building, there is something which goes down. So I think the entire building for some reason goes very slowly down. Okay, that's all what I have.
Professor, if you could take a look over at Spanish Lakes Elementary.
Where is that one?
Spanish Lakes, it's on 79th, just north of Miami Gardens Drive, which is 186. Head north. There you go.
Okay, can you point me to where?
Yeah.
Okay, where is it? Further north. Okay, let me. Okay. This is Spanish Lakes. Okay, so Spanish Lakes, the school itself doesn't have anything, but this is a low resolution data. So if you had high resolution data, maybe it would show. So I think it didn't move, but there's some dots nearby.
With the blue dots.
For your office, there was something nearby. There was somewhere. I believe I've seen a blue dot there. Okay, there's a blue dot. Yeah, so that's not that is a noisy one. So about this one, I wouldn't be 100% sure, but it shows up blue. So that is some more proper analysis what needs to be done. There's a few blue dots here. Okay, something happened there. Yeah.
You want to come grab the mic, Joey?
Joey Formoso, you basically have satellites taking pictures of everything. And then when there's a change, it makes a blue dot. And it seems like the blue dots have all be on buildings, correct?
Yes. So
At least the ones that you showed me, it's. So
yes,
my
so
question.
So whatever is stable on the ground or
Right.
on the roof.
Okay, but my question to you is, if I build something and I don't compact the ground below it, it's going to move. So is it moving because of bad construction or moving because of the vibration? Of course, is going to help the bad construction that wasn't compacted. If I built a building and I compact it, it's probably not going to change. If I build this building over here and I don't compact it, that building is going to go down a couple of inches.
Yes, I think so. So
Yeah.
so whether the compacting is enough, that is another question. So that's something what we can. I hope so. I would think it is probably enough that it's the compaction.
And then
is
my
enough,
next
but
question
if
is,
we-
how is this going to help us? How is you're just trying to find, I mean, I understand that if my house is going down, maybe it wasn't compact. I mean, I had engineers come to my house and that's what they told me. Oh, it
So-
wasn't compacted.
I think what we can do and what is one of the most urgent things what we should be doing is really comparing this area with somewhere else. Do we see these kind of signals
But then again, you still,
only here, or do we see it also somewhere else? If it's only
I think,
here, then it's pretty logical, then it is okay. Pretty likely that it's related to the mine blasting indeed, yeah.
Professor, if you can measure lateral movement with this instrument, this tool, correct?
I can measure what?
Lateral movement, how much it has, the object has
Yes, in
moved.
principle, we can also measure horizontal, but that
So-
is more complicated. So then
Right.
we need to look from both directions.
All right, but right now you're measuring incidence, which is the sinking of the buildings, which we're having. And the lateral movement, as you explained in my office building has actually moved approximately 7/8 of an inch, which correlates with the gap that is in the between two slabs that we have. My question to you then, if we have lateral movement, horizontal movement, my building has moved eastward. Can you detect the direction and movement of each area?
In principle, yes, but for that, we need really very high resolution data, extremely high resolution data.
Right,
So
well,
you
that's the
you
intent of
get
the
this
study.
Data for, with 1 meter spatial resolution, and then you look from the right and you look from the left, and then you can, so we measure displacements in direction of the satellites. But then if you look from different areas, from different directions, you can figure out in which direction it.
Okay, so if we have, obviously, it's the intent of the study. This is what the ask is. But if we can measure from a direction that there's lateral movement in each direction, the center point of each direction then would be the source. If that's our case, if that's the issue from the energy wave, would that be this? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yes, I think so. But that is going quite. I mean, I'm happy that we can see it at all. So the direction there's going to be more noise associated with, and we need good archived data. So going back, I haven't really. Okay, there could be archived data which can be used for that, but I'm actually not sure. But
All
in
right.
principle, we can do lots of things. But that really it takes. If we acquire great data starting now, then we can do lots of things. Yeah.
You want to come on up.
So two-part question. So the first question is, do the mining companies have a contract with the state of Florida
For
for the roads? Because that's what
they
I've
sell.
always
They
heard.
sell the aggregate is sold to FDOT.
So if we want funding for this, how do we go up against them if they have a contract?
Well, it's
with
two
the
different
state?
things. One is a study, and this is science.
Right.
And the challenge that is being faced is that it hasn't been done yet. So the science and technology exists, and the professor, as he proffering, he's done it for other occasions, it's shown a volcano and buildings and whatnot. It needs to be done here. So it needs to be high resolution data, which is obviously paid through the study. So as far as a contract with FDOT, that's a client of the mine. So the mine is selling aggregate to FDOT along with other
But
entities.
isn't that who we're fighting against then? If
FDOT?
No?
No, because remember, there's also 5 mining operations and only 2 are acting the way they are.
And
So
we
the other
can't-
3 are acting properly.
And we can't, and I'm sorry, I'm just trying to
It's being-
understand because everybody always is putting things on social media and I just want to make sure that I'm getting
Right.
the right information. So are we saying that we can't legally do anything? I mean, I know that this fight has been fighting for a long time and we've gotten nowhere. And I appreciate all your efforts and forming this board. I truly do. The damage to my home is my tiles are broken, everything, not any different than anybody in this
Right.
room. And so when we say a study and we say we're going to go up to Tallahassee, like how much longer is that going to take? How much longer? And us as a community and homeowners, how do you want us to get involved to get some traction in this? Because our homes are falling apart.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
think one of the biggest things that you can do is as you feel these events, going to the website, putting in the complaint, but more importantly than that, spreading the word. right? Because if you look at this room, if you look at this event that's going on in our homes, right? Outside of our health, I think our homes are probably one of our most precious assets.
Yeah.
And, you know, for an event like this, we should have, frankly, I think thousands of people here. Right, exactly. Standing room only. So I think that the biggest ask would be, once we obviously leave this meeting, is to really spread the word. Spread the word, number one, but equally as important, again, is when you feel an event happen in your home, obviously go to the website, record it, file that complaint.
Okay.
And obviously have that discipline to do that every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's numbers. We need more numbers behind us to obviously fight this fight.
Earlier, 300 and something, was that just in 1 year? There were
The-
337
He,
complaints.
he mentioned it.
He
He mentioned it. Yeah. Rather than 4 years, within 2 years, 2 years.
So understand something. In Tallahassee, obviously it's not here.
Yeah.
What they have in their ear in Tallahassee legislators is one thing, and what we're saying is the other. So, and what we're saying doesn't coincide with what they're hearing.
So we want to bring.
So
a
we need
study.
science, we need facts, we need clout that it didn't exist because it's intentionally been avoided until now.
Right, to back us up.
We got to be able to back this. Now, the only thing we do have at the moment, amongst other things, I want to say that what we have at the moment is the Miami-Dade pilot program, which is a study it's an active currently. There is seismographs that have been set up by the state or state contracted company around Dade County, including Broward and Miramar, because the energy is coming from Miami-Dade County.
Yeah.
The complaints, to list the complaint that what you felt in your home, as I have in mine, they need that data that you actually felt it. Because they understand that the energy wave, it's a sine curve. It's traveling underground, most of it. There's actually 4, I've explained this in the past. If you haven't seen my other presentations, there's 4 energy waves and there's a 5th air pressure wave. The 4 energy waves are specific to break rock. The air pressure is above the surface and we feel it. That humans and animals are most susceptible to the air pressure. So what we may feel an air pressure very high really isn't doing much to a structure, but we'll feel that it's the end of the world. Nonetheless, whatever you feel, put it on that website. And the reason is, and eventually will become on this website, is that each complaint that is filed, if you pick it, you'll see a dot on a map, you'll pick your location, you'll see your complaint, and it's going to link you to the source of that complaint. In other words, where the blast occurred. And when you pick it, it will show then the actual properties of the blast. So it'll show you then, and they'll be able to detect that blast XYZ affected Ms. Smith's home by this amount. Now, what's coming out already is that there are some locations that there's some phenomenon that is happening in the strata between the mine and these persons' properties. It's now coming out, it's becoming evident. And this creates a phenomenon of sort where the energy wave deflects. And if, again, those that were awake in physics, we learned about energy waves and how it propagates, and it can bounce off things and redirect. It can strengthen. Why they call Chicago the Windy City, because the winds are going around the building and you feel the wind. Or it'll hit and bounce back or fizz out. So all these things need to be learned and studied to get an encompassing solution to this. Because as we're saying, we're important, and we are, so is the mining industry. We need them, but we have to figure out how to coexist. They cannot, which is what's been done, create an inadequate law to say 0.5 ppv is good enough. Based on what? Because the reality, that law is based in Philadelphia in shale. It's a different strata. There's no water there. There's no aquifer. It's rock. It's very hard. The energy wave doesn't go very far. It dies out quickly. Here we're the only locations that we're standing on an aquifer. So we are in water or on water, and water carries energy wave without decay. It doesn't die out. So all these facts need to get put together. There is no magic solution. There is no magic timeline where I could say, don't worry, in 322 days, it'll be over. It doesn't work like that. And on top of that, legislation's very, very slow. So understand, when we all ask our legislators something, our state representative something, that's one person. And he has to get the vote, the positive vote of 51% of the other legislators around the state. Now, the other legislators around the state are hearing in their ear, they're crazy. Did you know I got a call on Friday that this presentation, this meeting today is a crazy presentation, is ludicrous. This gentleman that has discovered and uncovered and predicted volcanic eruptions and locations and lava flows doesn't exist. I said, really? I have news for you. We have science backing us. We need to uncover it. Unfortunately, there's costs involved in it. There's funding needs to be obtained. And I don't know if any of us can do that individually anyway. At a minimum, we need to get the word out. So as my colleagues are saying, we need to get the word out. So, the gentleman in the back, good. Well, I'm sorry, say it again?
The website.
Yeah,
Huh? National reports.
yeah, one of our council member, wow, committee members made a redirect called blastingreport.com, and it's a shortcut to take you to the proper website.
Right.
Which is under the CFO's office. It's a long name, that's why I don't remember it offhand. Blastingreport.com. Good.
That's it. Very simple.
You come, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
excuse me. You said that you wanted us to go ahead and report. The only reason that I have noticed what's going on is because I was working from home due to COVID.
Right.
That is the only reason why I know, other than seeing visible effects in my house, including a pipe that broke.
Right.
PVC, which is not supposed to.
Right.
We can go ahead and spread the word, but most of us are not home. Everybody's going back to work. So how can we tell you, oh, it happened at this time, this day? So how's that going to happen? How can we, because we need to resolve the issue. I understand they are a very important part, but something happened within the past 2 years. Something happened because I've been living in the same house for 21 years and I didn't have any cracks, but I have in the past 2 years.
Right. They've
And
accelerated
they're
production.
very, very visible cracks.
Yes, they've accelerated production. They have. And as far as timeline, and I understand that is to report the time of the blast. You can use social media to learn the date, the time that it actually happened, because people are posting immediately. There's different sources that you can get to go onto the page and put your complaint down, and you'll notice, and I highly recommend it, take photographs of when you're seeing a crack begins to emerge. Now, document the history of the crack as it's going to grow. Now, I give presentations and I have it on the website on Nextdoor and Facebook and whatnot, different social media platforms. And I've done it in the public where I try to educate and show you how to identify a seismic damage crack. Because the reality is, and understand, as the energy wave, as it goes through and propagates through the strata and hits our structures, it goes through the structure. The structure then responds. So think if I push you, you're going to push back. Normal physics. The leading edge, the corner that's of your home closest to the mine, take a look at the base of the wall where the wall hits this floor slab and look, that's where you start. Look there. You're going to find a hairline crack growing at that corner. Then go to the back side of that corner, whatever opposite side is, and look at the openings, and you're going to see all your openings. There'll be a diagonal crack, typically on the bottom, on the same corner of all the openings, not on both openings, not on both corners. So, and what's happening is you're building leans, it's torsioning your opening. So concrete works in compression. You stand on it, it's strong. It doesn't work in tension. It doesn't pull apart, it breaks. So the opposing edge of your structure from the mine or from the energy source, it's going to go in an obtuse angle. That opening will torsion open and it will crack. So you'll get a diagonal crack there. And this is why it's happening. So to learn to identify seismic energy damage is key, which is what I've taught these guys amazingly, proud of them, to learn and to know and to identify what are we looking at.
Yeah.
You follow? So these are the type of things to be looking for. I have yet to see a home that doesn't have damage in our area. Okay, I will boldly say that. Your shower bathroom tile is very thin by default. Look at the grout lines between the tile, and you're going to start seeing hairline cracks.
5 people in my neighborhood have their showers with that.
So, all right.
Regarding the funding, like, how much are we talking about? And also the duration of your study? Do you have any ideas yet? And how
Well,
do we get
yeah.
the money?
regarding the amount, well, it's unfortunately research is expensive. We pay tuition for a student and all this kind of thing. So I don't want to say the amount. It's too much. But that is National Science Foundation. They always paid, and NASA always pays. That's how it works. But it is yeah, it's relatively high salary for the student. And the time, well, we just have to we do whatever we can without funding, with what we have at the moment. But yeah, if we have really couple of students working on it, then it will go pretty fast.
Yes, very likely.
May- So we were actually supposed to get some funding from that was weird, from the state fire marshal, and went to a meeting there, and then we presented what we could do, and then they changed their mind. Yeah.
So you want to come up? So we
Yep.
got you on mic. Sir, you want as well? And I recognize you.
I'm glad that you said that. My name is Irene Toroela Garcia. I'm from 17675 Northwest 91st Court.
Thank you.
So the state fire marshal refused to fund this project. So I'm wondering, can this be used? I know that we can't personally sue the mining companies because they have some kind of, protection by the state and whatnot, but can we sue the state with this information? Can we do like a class action against the state with the science that they're refusing to take a look at?
I don't see why not.
Because that's,
It's
I mean,
negligence.
if somebody can reimburse us, and if this could, I mean, I'm thinking
Yes.
Aaron Brockovich and taking it however far we could take it.
Yes.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
I mean, I'll say the board has reviewed different legal, possibilities. Now,
and
not
options.
necessarily through the town or through the board, probably take the help of individuals and other attorneys that want to potentially take it on behalf of the other individuals. But that's not, it's not something that's been overlooked.
thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. You're welcome. Gentlemen. Gentlemen.
Sir, you want to come up?
Just feel free to come up.
If you would like to speak, please come up and
Oh,
we'll try to
yeah,
answer any
yeah, please
question
come up.
you can.
Please come up.
Your name,
You
sir.
guys were saying earlier about trying to get, word of mouth out there. I know that you also said that there's been trouble with trying to get the mining companies that are causing the problem to come here. Is there a way that we can make a petition for an injunction to force them to show up? For example, if we get enough people for an injunction with the court and we petition for that and the city is behind it, wouldn't it be possible for them, the companies that are in the problem, at least to pause them or force them to show up? Because I'm sure that if there's an injunction,
Right.
they're going to be forced to not continue mining for the time being. Is there a way to do that?
I think there's a moratorium is what you're looking for, but an injunction is to force them to do something. So
Yeah,
I think,
well, that would be
wanna
the
apply?
legal
Might be an
remedy for
option.
the time.
Might be an option that might double work, because we're stopping a business which is vital to the state of Florida.
Mhm.
Not that I like what they're doing. I'm totally against, what they're doing, that they're harming our homes and our businesses.
Mhm.
But that is something that's also been studied, that's also been reviewed, and it's an option that we've presented to the town also at the same time. So all legal actions are being studied, being
Okay.
presented. We also got to see the costs. We just went through a couple of things with the city already,
Mhm.
and they cost us a pretty penny. So that's another layer, that's another factor that we have to weigh in. So we have to, weigh.
But
the-
what if we self-petition, like, we can, as a community, we can petition the courts
be.
to, like, if the city was for that. And for example, like how you guys set up this meeting, you can say, hey, we have a petition letting the people of the city know who are affected by this, that have actual damages in their houses, and then ask them to be part of this petition in order to show that to the court system in Miami, so they can enforce that injunction. Even if it is, the injunctions are 14 days that are long, that are open. So it's not really like it's going to affect them that much. This has been going on for years. If we can stop them for 14 days until we figure them out, or at least for them to show their face where we can talk to them, because they can't even come here to speak to any of us. I think that if that would help out a lot here, because that would force them to come here.
I would welcome that. I don't know how it could be done, to be honest with you.
Okay.
If I were doing an injunction, I would say drop your intensity until you can prove that we're not being damaged.
Yeah.
Now, understand that the law, the limit, the reading in which their unit of measure, the reading that they're using is PPV, peak particle velocity, and it's 0.5 inches per second, which is how fast that energy travels. But the energy wave has a lot of properties to it. The trough, the amplitude, the wavelength, all different things, like driving over a speed bump. You can hit a series of tight speed bumps and go faster over them, and it doesn't damage your car. You hit a big speed bump, single one, and it'll take your undercarriage out. So all these things are known. Now, these are things that need to be studied to create a proper regulation. Now, my take is, until that study is done, then lower your intensity until you don't hear a complaint from any of us, because there are other companies that are doing it already. So why can't the rest? Now, in fairness to them, okay, I think it should be on them, prove that it doesn't cause damage. There's a thought. But understand that the science involved, that what's happening, as the professor's proffering here, and that we do have, or we don't have, I'm sorry, we do have areas that aren't applicable here. So if you were to go to have an injunction and you want to court, you go to a trial by jury, as people say, they'll say, no, it doesn't exist and we're under the legal limit. But the reality is they created the legal limit. It's an arbitrary legal limit.
But there wouldn't, since it's an injunction, it'd be just straight with the judge. And all we need is just the people. All I'm saying is, if we have it open sourced here with the community, with the council, the city with us, and they give us a platform like this one, to have something, at least a legal remedy right now, to stand with us with that then we can have something that can at least pause them or show or have them to come to us, because they haven't been showing, and they're not, it doesn't seem like it's gonna happen in the way of, you understand, like if we just send them letters or things like that. So to force them to show up here, I feel like we have to take an action like that, where everyone can, like, we have a room full of people now.
It's an ask. It's an ask. And I hear you and I agree with you. How to do it is the question. And I think it's something that we may be bringing on our next agenda and discuss how can we do things, because I don't know the answer.
Okay.
I don't know it. White Rock and CMEX.
White Rock and CMEX.
White Rock and CMEX.
CMEX. And CMEX.
Yeah. I'd like, before we continue, I want to thank and have some recognition. Thank you, Mayor Messam. I
Thank you for
wholeheartedly
coming.
appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
We also have Representative Thomas Acala from Mayor
The mayor's
Gala's office.
Mayor's office.
We have the director from the RER director, Lourdes Gomez. She's here. I think we have Department of Public Works is in the house as well. No? Well, and I also want to thank Councilman
Councilman Ray Garcia.
Councilman Ray Garcia for his never-ending relentless gentleman-like status. Taught me quite a bit. Thank you for the support.
Thank you, Mayor.
And as well as everybody, we need to come together. I'm very pleased with the decent turnout that's coming. We need to continue to grow. We need to keep locking arms. It's the only way. Understand, again, I received a phone call on Friday that this is ludicrous. We are all crazy. Understand that, quote unquote. So all our damages are, it's in our minds. It's not really happening. Shaking of a home and a structure, it doesn't matter. Understand this. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
yes,
he's been waiting. He's been waiting.
You
too.
ain't
He's
go-
been waiting.
No, you can come on up, sir. Go ahead.
My name is Bob Desden from Marbella Park, and I have a few questions and a few comments. One, if you do find results, will you be able to say that the mining companies are directly and solely responsible for that? Second, what if the mining companies say, okay, things are moving, but it's not enough to cause structural damage? Third thing I want to say is that I don't think the people that are here are representative of the numbers that are really interested in this, but rather
that.
it's reflective of the wearing down of 20 to 30 years of people complaining, including now when you complain and you make the report, which I do, it comes back, sorry, it's normal, it's within limits. Last but not least, politics and science are not always on the same side. It appears to be even less so now. So you can have all the science in the world, and if you don't have the politics that's going to support you and get behind it, you're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Dimitru from Country Club of Miami. I've got two things, basically. One is I think we need to get all the communities in the whole area, Dade County and Broward County. Let's get the power going. The one issue I haven't heard anybody talk about is I-75, the turnpike, and all of the bridges. I guarantee you, not one of those was designed to withstand blasting waves.
Correct. I actually contacted FDOT regarding the same.
Okay. If that shock wave coming all the time is acting like a mini pile driver. So those, just like our homes, just like my transformer outside my house that's dropped 3 to 4 inches in 30 years. It's all being compacted. Those columns are coming down. What happened at FIU down south on the trail? One of these days, that's very possible that that can happen, and talk about a major catastrophe.
Yep.
Maybe the state will start to listen to something like that also. That's their money, their funds, that they built that. And you'll be able to substantiate that more than anybody else.
We have to look at the highways. It's a good idea. I haven't really looked.
Yeah.
There'll be many blue dots.
And one thing, I was glad to hear that you mentioned shock waves going through solids and all. Limestone is extremely porous. I was a geology major basically at one point. Water does not compress. You turn off the water fast in your home, you hear the pipe shake, called water hammer. Well, that's in your house. That wave continues and continues to cause more destruction as it goes. Nothing stops that down here. Thank you.
Agreed. So you're all aware, I contacted FDOT when they were building the entry from Miami Gardens to the Turnpike. At that entry bridge, and I contacted FDOT regarding it, that since it's a new bridge, to see some sort of monitoring be placed on it. And I was advised by FDOT, a contractor was building it, and until they release it or turn it over to FDOT, they had nothing to do with it. However, what concerned me the most was that FDOT stated, the representative stated, they were not aware of the mine. Now, yeah. So you guys are aware, look it up. It's called a phenomenon called concrete debonding. And this keeps me up at night, literally. Concrete debonding, when we have, as we're all aware, everything has a natural frequency, everything. Every object has its own frequency. If we introduce an energy wave to this frequency, the energy will vibrate each item. It'll expand it exponentially. Professor, you can chime in if I'm saying something erroneous. Now we got school involved. Is it?
I wouldn't call it an energy wave. It's a seismic wave. Energy.
The
wave is
seismic
a little
wave.
bit-
Okay. So if we introduce that, this frequency will be greater. Now, concrete and steel, reinforced concrete, which our structures are made out of, including the bridge is mentioning, is made with concrete and steel. They are dissimilar materials. They're held with friction. Concrete is grabbing the steel. And if you guys are aware of seeing rebar in no construction, there's dimples in the rebar. It's also made out of a steel that rusts, and it creates a layer that allows this concrete to grip better. That's that rebar. The composite, the connection of those two, steel and rebar, make reinforced masonry. If we introduce an energy, seismic energy, to these two components, what happens to them? It's called debonding. And the two concrete and steel, the two components break apart. And they're there. Now, one of the testing that they do for the bridges and entry ramp, as an example, is an X-ray. Well, we're not removing the steel. So if they X-ray, they're going to see the reinforcement. It's there. But they can't test without damaging the object, the structural degradation of that object, including our homes. So it's called debonding of concrete. I was confirmed by an engineer from the Philippines that the longevity that we're experiencing, what we're doing, the cyclic nature, in other words, this is happening over and over and over. For the time span that we're experiencing it, we have concrete debonding. That's another study needs to be investigated. You mentioned that the professor at FAU has a shake table. A shake table, so you understand, is a laboratory instrument where literally is a table that can vibrate and simulate the actual energy that we're experiencing. So a model can be built of a structure and placed on this table, and it's vibrated. And it's going to look and accelerate the damage of what we're seeing, so you could see it in a test model. And that shows the science will prove that what we're seeing. We're not making it up. We're not crazy. Not all of us, and some of us. I mean, my wife's in the back, so I got to be careful what I say. But
So if I may say something, my hypothesis is the direct effect of the seismic waves is not too strong, and that is essentially what the mining companies are saying. But what matters is the ground underneath. When the seismic waves go through the ground, and then the ground or the soil, it changes, and you get some movement, and then that transmits to whatever structure is on top.
Professor, you mentioned something when you're making your presentation that have you, based on what you've seen and understand you don't have all the data, have you seen more shifting or more of those blue dots in the northwest quadrant of Dade compared to looking at other places?
I haven't seen, well, blue dots I have seen in some places, but not the instantaneous displacements. But we have to do this really on a scientific, proper way to look at areas where nothing is happening and quantitatively compare. But we haven't done that yet.
thank you. Yes?
Sorry, I don't know. Do we know how many times a day they're allowed to blast, or there's no limit?
There's no limit. The limit is a time frame from 9 to 5.
That's why you have 2 or 3 or 4
Yeah.
a day. Yeah, right, maybe. Yeah. Yeah,
And now it's spreading out.
correct.
Correct.
I've been living in Miramar for 25 years.
Correct.
And the fact that now it feels like it's getting worse, it's ridiculous. And I do have a crack in my garage foundation wall going from the roof down. And that's gotta be.
Doors causes more energy than you're experiencing. Yes. Oh. I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
To spread the word. And the only way I found out about this meeting is through Nextdoor, the app. If not, I would not have known about it. Let's say even if we spread the word and you have 100,000 people here, they're not even coming. You guys are not, you're saying that it's all about the money. They're not, because we need them. What is it even going to do even if we have 300,000 people here? We have proof. It's been going on for 20 years. We just now started doing scientific research on it
Yes.
after all the damage proof that we've had. Why not in the past 20 years?
Mayor Messam advised me, if you recall, sir, a number of years ago, I asked you a
I've
similar
come here
question.
like 2
And Mayor
years ago.
Messam's response to me, and I've never forgotten it, it's not, well, who's right or wrong, it's what you can prove in court. Do you
I
recall that, sir?
understand. So it's been
So-
20 years. Why now start the
Because what the
research?
proof has never been done. It's been ignored,
But we've
intentionally
had
ignored.
proof.
We have no proof. We have your word against someone else's
They're
word.
not words, they're pictures, they're damages.
Now.
They're now,
Now.
no, I believe this has been going on for years. And like, again, if we had 200,000 people here, you can't get them to even come here. They don't
Agreed.
reply to your email. Who cares if 200,000 people show up?
There's actually 360,000 homes, single-family homes, I've done the numbers, affected.
And
360,000
that's not
homes.
proof.
And
That's
well,
not proof.
that, it is not proof.
So if I go into somebody's house and damage it, I'm not allowed to do that, but they're allowed to blast and damage people's house and nobody can do anything about
That
it.
is another issue that I've raised with, again, with my legal colleagues here.
I
It's the right
understand,
for-
but like
for
the
peaceful
gentleman
enjoyment of
said, like,
property.
let's try the junction. And like you said, we don't even know what to do. What is this, the first time somebody came up with a junction idea to do something about it? Where it's like people are scared to go up against them.
Yes.
It costs too much money to go up against them.
Yes.
It's
But
all
people
factors.
are complaining and look, all like we have the people that's showing up because they're exhausted. All they can do, like you see it on social media all the time. And it's like, if people feel like their hands are tied, nobody can do anything. We're here and nothing got resolved. Nothing.
And when you look at the audience, I would say that not even 10% of the individuals here are
course.
Miami Lakers.
Of course.
They're not Miami Lakers.
But okay, so now we're all leaving. Did anybody feel like anything got resolved? We're leaving and nothing, it's just
It-
but we're
it's
gonna
not
have a
about
meeting
that.
next month. And again, it's gonna be the same thing.
You-
How
you-
long have you been coming to these meetings?
No, you're looking at the wrong angle, ma'am, with all due respect. This isn't about finding a resolution today. This is about knowledge is
20
power.
years.
I've been living in this community for over 20 years.
Me too.
And not
Me
until
too.
2016,
Me too.
there had been no action. There had been no action until recent. So. go
To
ahead.
add insult to injury, this is Hope Reynolds. If I understand things correctly, many years ago, cases were taken to Miami-Dade County. A lawsuit was filed. 6 individuals got money. In fact, I used to speak to Alan Dragerman, who told me that he received $20-some thousand. The case was closed. We could not find any documentation. It was sealed. It goes to Tallahassee, and in Tallahassee, rather than doing anything for us, because it was proved in court that we had damages, what they did is they literally created a legislature to protect the mining industry. So to add injure to, like whatever,
Yeah.
they have done something in the past. They're just now trying for us not to be able to recuperate. So sorry, but I couldn't take it anymore.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Hi, my name is Patricia Lara. I am currently on the Miami Lakes Advisory Board, Blasting Advisory Board, which was originally created
Miramar.
by Miramar Mesam, by Wayne Mesam in Miramar, which is why you created your Miami Lakes Board. I've been dealing with this issue since I was 14 years old. I grew up in Palm Springs North, okay? When I got older and was able to want to buy my own home, because I was living with my family when I was a kid, I moved to Miramar. I moved to West Miramar, thinking I was never going to have to deal with blasting ever again in my life. 2 days after closing on my home, I feel the first blast in my house. I was devastated, to say the least. I went ahead and filed my complaint. They actually came out, and there was a gentleman who took pictures of the garage. One of the people here was talking about the cracks in the garage. They came and took the pictures. My next door neighbor had the same issue. We had a person come out. They took the pictures after filing a complaint. They said, we're going to look into this. We'll send you the results, which of course was they were within normal limits. Okay. This issue has been going on for way too long. I don't see what it is that we can actually do at this point. There was, when you were talking about any type of a lawsuit, we actually had one of our original board members for Miramar actually filed
a complaint with DOA, okay, which is the administrative hearing that was held in Tallahassee. And she actually won that complaint for damages to her property. So there is a way to do it, okay? It's just a matter of having to go to Tallahassee because that's where the venue is at. It's
No.
not like you can file a jurisdiction down here,
They,
but she
no.
lives here. She lived in Country
State,
Club.
State Rep Fabricio had petitioned the lead justice for DOA, and they now moved an office in Miami-Dade County.
Oh, okay. So they now have one here.
Yes.
So we could actually sit there and get an abundance of people to file complaints here locally.
Right.
Okay, so wouldn't that be an avenue to try to follow through on?
I agree with you. Yes.
But there's
Okay.
risk in filing a DOA complaint, including attorney's fees. So it's a financial risk. Everyone has to take it their own pearl. That's very difficult for a group to do that, honestly. But it's
Well, no,
something
I
we
don't
can
even
look
mean
into.
a group, as individuals.
Oh,
That's now
yeah.
gives us a new way to be able to file our own complaints because the damages are just getting worse. And the intensity, like I said, I'm now retired. And I can tell you every single blast at what time it comes, what the intensity is, and the intensity, I've spoken to Miguel about this, has gotten extremely worse in the past few weeks. I mean, where you've got the triple and the doubles, but
Doubles.
now, I mean, I felt the swaying, and I actually was in Peru in the midst of an earthquake, so I know what a real earthquake feels like, okay? And this is damn close to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. ma'am. Oh, you want to come up, sir?
I live in Miramar in Revere Isles, and to Patty's point, I think that we have 1,300 homes in Revere Isles. We all feel it because I've been there 21 years. I strongly believe that I can pack a bunch of buses and take them somewhere.
It's been tried. Four
been
people
tried?
showed up. Yes, 4 people showed up. I'm one of them. Went to Tallahassee. 4 people.
I'm talking buses.
A bus. We went in an
bus.
empty bus. We drove up. I slept in the, well, I didn't sleep. Some people slept in the back
Would
along the
that
trail.
help if I can load up 4 or
think
5 buses?
We have an expert in legislation sitting behind you. Let's use the opportunity. We can ask them. I think it would, but we need volumes, speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Understand our elected official get elected because we vote for them. They need to work for us. We need to, sometimes we need to remind them, we have a problem. You're working for us. Let's talk. So what you're saying is, yes, I think so. My
What
personal
about-
opinion.
What about television was my other point.
That's what I was sure. I think we need to your point.
Yeah.
The message to the people, they need the press.
What about?
I've been
their
on every
offices,
television
going
channel
to
that I
their
know.
offices? I suggested this 15 years ago when my kids were in elementary school. We had a very similar meeting at Dolphin Bay Elementary. And I suggested, again, buses, the bus idea, going, like Shrek with pitchforks. Going to their office and getting on TV. I mean, it doesn't cost us anything except somebody wanting to move a ton of
time.
people in their community
Your
and
time.
say, hey, we got to load these 4 or 5 buses.
To start with, I want to thank everybody here beyond, because you guys took the time out to come out, get informed, and find out what's the latest.
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough. Thank you. But to your respect, sir, yes, at 360,000 homes, and that doesn't include building, schools, commercial buildings, nothing, homes. Where's everybody? Why isn't there 360,000 complaints on that website a day? People are complacent. And quite frankly, the mining industry, if they tone it down, which if you guys recall or not, when the respec study was active, the day that they went live with the study was the last blast that they had that was intense. They toned it down for 3 months while that study was live. They knew the study was going on. And everybody forgot about the blasting. We can't do that. We can't afford that because our structures don't forget. It doesn't heal. So when there's a momentum like today, We need to carry this momentum and keep going. Yes, sir.
Back there.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to thank the advisory board for letting us come and see. Thank you. We have all the folks here. I just have a couple of questions. Is there any representative here from Bishop Garcia's district?
I invited them, so,
No,
but apparently not.
No.
Is there any representative here from District One, Commissioner Oliver Gilbert, that is the adjacent district to here?
no,
My next question is there anybody here from the Miami-Dade County Commission Chair, Oliver Gilbert? Is there
No.
anyone here from the Vice Chair of Miami-Dade County? We're all hearing a lot of no's, but these are the folks that represent us. It's sad that they're not.
we haven't got
I
a,
have respect for the representative.
correct, from the mayor's office, right.
Miramar's here.
Appreciate that, but who should be here in the trenches helping them? Are the folks that I just mentioned. We've all faced this problem for years. When Pepe Diaz was a commissioner, and Pepe Diaz, his district was the mining site. And now, even that commissioner is not even here. To me, that's sad. And I think we should all remember this the next time we go to the polls. I'm sorry.
Right.
Thank you. So, Mayor, you want to make it?
Mayor,
I do have a couple of questions for
sure.
our professor. Good evening, everyone. I feel bad with do these mic work?
They should.
Okay, yes, good. All right. Was on.
You could turn to them, by the way.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. You're not gonna hurt us. or anything. You can
Turn
turn
the other mic
around, you can turn around.
The other mic, the other mic.
You can face it.
Okay, here we go. I think this battery is okay. Okay. Then I'll have my back.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. And thanks for coming out. I'm Mayor Wayne Messam from the city of Miramar. I found out about this meeting also on Nextdoor. Did not know that it was taking place, and I was intrigued to learn that there is a potential study that is being developed to try to quantify what is taking place in all of our communities. Before I ask I have about 2 questions to ask you and to give some comments in terms of providing some context and where I think we should be moving forward as a community. Is that the first question is, I think it's important that you do share what the budget is. Because it may be in development, it may not be an exact number, but if there are funding sources that can help to fill that or bridge that gap in funding, then those entities, for example, if the city of Miramar or if Miami Lakes and other cities want to contribute towards that cost so that we can provide answers to our constituents, we would like to participate or at least explore the prospects of participating.
That'd be excellent.
Or if it's an easier answer, how much was the CFO committing to fund before they reneged on the funding?
That was 300,000 a year for the first year. Yeah, that's what they said.
So 300,000 per year?
For year 1. But it was meant as a pilot project. Yeah.
Okay, for year 1, and the study would take how many years?
3 years.
Okay, so we're talking roughly about $1 to $2 million for the budget.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So now at least we have a universe of what this would could cost. The next question is, does the study or the technology that you're using, can it quantify or translate the associated damage based off the results that your study would reveal?
Quantifying the damages.
For example, Let's put it in layman's terms. Tiles are cracking. There are structural cracks in walls and foundations. Can there be an association or a correlation of the movement of building based off seismic activity to real damage that are in people's homes? Does that technology exist, or will it accomplish that?
That's a little bit, well, I'm not aware that this technology exists. You cannot really look into people's home easily, but so something what can be done is what we do. I mean, it is important that people are putting all the information what they have about damages, that it's somehow available in an online database. We can use that information what we are getting from the satellite. We can then correlate it with other information, and then what we probably will see is that, okay, we have some blue dots, some events, and that agrees with when people put their complaints in. That will be, but quantifying in detail what's happening inside the house, no, we can't.
Okay, I would suggest if there is a possibility where you're seeing blue dots and you can pinpoint it to an address, if a resident as well is willing to show or document pictures before that, you can correlate it. So because the reason why I bring this up is because, as the chair mentioned earlier, if there's going to be any legislative process or data mining, or if it becomes a legal situation, we have to be able to correlate and pinpoint damage. And I don't know if the study does that.
Absolutely. These
Okay.
data need to be acquired. If somebody gets new damage, you have to, okay, I'm not sure whether this Miami-Dade pilot thing does it, but then there should be photos, there should be a date and photos, it should be in a database, and then later on
There-
you can correlate.
If I may,
So,
the study that he's looking at
mhm,
is movement of structure.
yes,
The comments that you're making is damage to structure.
but movement can cause damage. So what I'm saying, if the
Correct.
study can make a
But
tie
the
to
movement,
damage.
but the movement that they're looking at will be a specific type of damage, not a generalization of damage. Generalization of damage can be correlated as seismic damage, and you can see specifically seismic damage, and those are known.
Yeah.
And those are known today.
So without getting into the weeds, and because I'm not a scientist, that's why I'm just making suggestions. Because from the political standpoint, if you're asking a state senator or state legislator, if there's a subcommittee meeting, they're talking about the results of a study that is being pushed to supersede and the existing study that is the basis of the regulation that we're using right now, on a totally different geology of a region in the country that's not like ours. You're asking an elected official to vote on, we're going to go with this data because current statute is mute because of this data. So I'm just bringing out points that as this study is being designed, the basis of design for the study, if there's any way that you can correlate damage, however it is defined, to an address, to residents being able to testify to say between this date and that date, this is what happened to my house. And this is a study that's showing that this activity points to that. However the scientists design it, I'm just throwing things out.
Right.
So absolutely. I mean, if there is enough data available, which house some residents felt some data, and then it agrees when some residents felt some damages in their house, or it happened, and it correlates with what we see in our satellite data, that will be very strong.
Yeah. So that'll end my questions. And before I take my seat, I'll just give some general remarks in terms of where I think we are today. The city of Miramar, we have, along with other cities like Miami Lakes, Palm Springs North, we have some very committed residents in our various communities in West Miramar that have really have galvanized around themselves to push this issue, which is very important. So how I see this very clearly and simple. The remedy to this situation can only come from Tallahassee. They are the regulatory authority that governs mining activity. As been stated tonight, there is no civil lawsuit. You can just go into Miami-Dade, Broward County and sue White Rock or whoever is causing these blastings. The regulation calls for a very punitive procedure through DOA, this Department of Administrative Hearings. And as was mentioned earlier, it's a very punitive process because yes, you can march down there and sue them, but you better have your engineer back scientific data that proves it and win. Because if you lose, not only do you have the cost of hiring your own engineer to document your damage, but you're also going to have to pay the technical and engineering costs for the mining company that will definitely defend itself, as well as their high-cost Brickell in downtown Miami and downtown Los Olas law firms in Fort Lauderdale to defend them. Not to scare you, I'm just giving you the realities. Now, there's a mention about some of our local elected officials that represent us here locally. And, you know, I can't speak for other local elected officials, but the local elected officials whose feet that really need to be held to the fire are our state representatives and state senators. Now, I'm not up here to give a partisan message, but we all know who controls Tallahassee. We know who controls Tallahassee. We know what party has the super majority. And this is not a partisan issue or a partisan point that I'm trying to make. But I raise that issue because of this. Those who are in control in Tallahassee, they seat the chairs of the committees that will hear any legislation that could potentially change the regulation in mining. I've worked with Democrats, I've worked with Republican state representatives and senators, pushing them to bring bills forward. Some of them have. None of them have brought bills forward in the manner in which I say that I think would pass. Because the minute you bring an aggressive bill that's either going to shut down White Rock Quarry and the other mines, or have a punitive result for them, they're just going to galvanize their lobbyists, galvanize the support, shake up the committee chairs, shake up the leader, speaker in Tallahassee to make sure that that bill does not even see a light of day in committee, where it dies. That's the reality. We can do all the studies we want, because even when you do the study, you have to do something with that study. You have to form or file a bill based on that study to create the language in the bill that will become statute. So it is a political process. That's why I raised the fact that if we have a very common sense study that shows real life results and damage to real people, it's a key, because you can then talk to your state representatives and your state senators based on scientific data. So it's not just my house has a crack in it. You can tell then where else it came from. That's not going to go anywhere. You need scientific data, and that's why these studies are so important. Now, you may ask, well, what is a solution? Well, it may not be a popular one, but I think if we had a state representative or state senator that is willing to bring a bill that first hits the following points. I don't see a bill passing that puts the mining industry in legal jeopardy in passing. We may have to indemnify the mining industry, which means in layman's terms that whatever bill that moves forward to address our issue, that they can't be sued. So you may say, well, Mayor, how can we do this? Well, I think at the end of the day, what we want to have is not to have our home shake, right? And if we do get damage, have some form or some way of compensating ourselves to fix that damage, right? So if we don't feel the tremors, and if we do get damage, If we can go to some place or someone or some entity to get money to fix our homes, I think that that's kind of some kind of way to kind of coexist, because the mining industry is a very important industry. It helps our roads be built. It's the building materials for our schools, our homes, and any structure in the state of Florida. That's just a reality. But the challenge that we'll have with that is, well, where's the money going to come from? I believe if we put a very de minimis cost to every yard of aggregate that comes out of there, it can fund the repairs caused by, or that's needed because of the damages. The industry will push back on that because they're saying they're trying to raise taxes. Are we going to increase the cost to the building industry? But I think that that's hogwash. I think that it can't happen. And I'm a general contractor. There are many fees and taxes we pay on so many things. But I think if we're truly honest, we got to have someone from the majority party that's going to be a champion on this issue. I don't see how there could be a Miami-Dade or Broward County state representative or state senator that's hearing our stories and will not have the courage to work with the industry. Got to have the industry to the table, got to have the leadership of the party that is in control at the table to say how we can come up with a solution for this issue. So when they're asking for your votes, this is the type of conversation that needs to take place. I would not vote for a state rep or a state senator that does not have a meaningful solution to blasting in South Florida. But I think some form of that, and I could be way off base, but I'm just trying to use common sense and logic. Because now if the mining industry says that, okay, well, we won't be exposed. That's why they wanted to go to a DOA process. So they're not going in front of juries that will fall to the sympathy of our homes and pictures and damages. They would lose those cases all day. That is why they lobby to have that process. Oh, we'll allow them to be able to seek damages if we really cause them, but we're going to fight for a study that somewhere off in some other region of the country, which we know that we're blasting much lower than what that study had. It's not about what the legal limits are right now. We know at a much lower limit it's causing damage. We feel it and we see the damage. So we as a community, we have to be very strategic. It's our homes, and because it's our homes, we get very emotional about the damage. It's our investment, and it's very upsetting. But we have to be strategic. We have to understand what it's going to take to change from what's happening right now to a better day, and it is the regulations that govern mining, and that can only be done in Tallahassee through the legislative process. So Miami-Dade Mayor can sit here. The chair of Miami-Dade County Commission can be here. The mayor of Miramar can come here and rally the troops. But at the end of the day, it's in Tallahassee where this battle is going to be fought. And having studies that can correlate and measure damage that we are experiencing so it can be the basis of any future legislation and regulation that will move forward. So that's my spill. Take it for what it's worth. I'm always willing and able to champion this issue and to leverage whatever influence I may have. I have no qualms in meeting with anyone. White Rock Quarry will not answer my calls anymore. So I can't go to them, at least right now, but at some point I do envision having a meeting with them. But I think it can only take place with some bill that is very comprehensive, that brings a meaningful solution, that doesn't impact the industry to the point where they're just going to automatically resist it while working with the mining industry so that they can improve their practices so that we all can live in the homes that we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Way that within the community, we can find people within our own community that can fix our pools, can fix our tiles. It's not going to come and take our deposits. It's not going to rip us off. Is there something that we can put together? Resources, able to go to that are within our own community?
I lost the focus on it. You're saying that to get people together that are repairing their homes.
To find resources.
I'm sorry, can
within
you,
our-
I can't,
To find resources within our own community, local plumbers, tiles, where we're helping one another. They're helping me. I know that they're not going to run off with my money. They're in the community. I mean, I gotta get my pool fixed. Like, it's on the news every other day, you
Right.
know, they're taking deposits. Can we put some type of resource?
that's a whole other
together?
story. I repaired my own home. I'm a contractor and architect. I've been, and I have over $100,000 in repairs in my own home out of pocket. The repairs are showing damage again. So what's the use if we continue to repair what you're talking about, if ultimately
No, I
it doesn't
understand,
happen?
but I
Now,
don't
I
think
wanted,
this
I would
is-
like to reiterate what the mayor said. I will add to it, though, what he described is actually one process or one avenue of the process. We can also, or not, and also, the CFO's office can override legislative process. So if the legislation provide a bill, pass a law to properly regulate this, the CFO can override that. He has the power to do so. Likewise, he can also override the current law. So I feel that if we have science backing us in one avenue or another, or both, is what needs to be done. So we need to wrap things up. We're getting the dirty eye, the stink eye back there.
Has there been any thought about having a few portable seismographs that could be brought around and be reporting in areas for, say, like meteors?
We're doing that.
Having actual evidence.
We have that already, sir.
There's
We have that.
23 of them, 23 of them throughout.
There's
the
20,
year.
well, it's 23 installed, and there's also portable that I monitor.
How long ago was that roughly?
Some of the stuff, no, it's not public. It's confidential, but it is happening. Yes.
Once again, I want to thank you for everything. Well, Miramar, it's great that a neighboring county and city come to speak before this advisory board. I heartfelt thanks to those representatives on there. The question I have is, what percentage of the rock that they mine stays in this marketplace?
The market for the mining industry is statewide, and actually they service or they feed the southeast of the U.S., not just Florida.
So does anybody know what percentage stays in the state of Florida?
The gross majority. FDOT is the
To get things accomplished?
the gross majority of the extracted lime rock stays in Florida, in the state. Yes, yes. No. Yeah, I think I'll feed your question outside. but go ahead.
Do you know what effect this blasting is having on the aquifer, the Northwest?
On the what, I'm sorry?
Our aquifer, where we're getting our water from, because I know Hialeah, they had to go deeper
Right.
a couple of years ago, down to 3,000 feet. Is there
I don't know
anybody
the
know if
effect.
it's affecting the water?
I do not know the effect.
Okay, I
So
just,
I know several effects that have happened, but I know what is happening.
Sir, I think we have to call the meeting to
Yes.
adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, I don't want Iowa to get
Closing
mad at us
statements.
anymore.
Can I make a
I mean-
motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
All right, it's all in favor?
Aye.
Well, we're happy to be outside and